Chirinos. My Spanish not so good. I am really concerned about the culture war and the destruction of the historical monuments that the extreme left has called for recently. I originally come from Venezuela and recently became a U.S. citizen. In Venezuela, this is how Hugo Chavez began to take power, through destroying historical monuments and spreading damaging ideologies. How can we work to combat this rising trend in the USA and to help preserve American history, culture, and our way of life? We live in this era of cancel culture. They want to erase things that may be inconvenient, may not be permissible here in modern society, but also things that help make our country what it is. I mean, what is interested in both of your comments on basically the cancel culture that we're living in today?
Well, what I'll say is I agree. And as I mentioned earlier at the very beginning, I'm the daughter of a Cuban refugee, and when I see these attempts, these pages being taken out of the socialist playbook, it really is a scary thing. And I think the one thing that you can do to help is get that message out there. And people need to hear it from those who fled countries because of the very policies that the Democrats today are trying to implement here. I think and maybe this is a great idea for Chairman Langworthy for another future forum to bring those individuals who have fled other countries to talk about their experience. And I actually thought about doing that myself on my Facebook page, because my mother will watch the news and say, this is what they do. This is just how they try to seize power. They try to cancel the history of our nation, erase the history of our nation. They try to turn this into a racial division, and they also started stripping freedoms. And we're seeing, certain things happening, like the tearing down of the statues that are very problematic and very scary. We must learn from our history. We must not erase our history. In 2017, this was a fight we were having over the Christopher Columbus statue. That became a big issue in the campaign. The mayor had put together a task force to look at all the statues to see which ones were offensive, and they were going to tear them down. And Christopher Columbus was on the list of potential statues. And I remember saying, vote for Nicole is a vote to save Christopher Columbus. And it's the same now as it was 3 years ago. We have to hear from people like you. I have to say that there are millions of immigrants like my parents who came to this country to flee the very policies Democrats are putting forward. And they need to hear from you. And they will hear from you on Election Day, but they need to hear from you. You need to educate this generation about what I know about it because of my mother. My mother fled when she was 15 years old. She left her father behind. She came with her mother here to the United States. My grandfather stayed with his gas stations. Those gas stations were taken away. He lost everything. So I know, but AOC feels that she learned about socialism in the classroom at Boston University, I think she went. So I think it's important. It's a valuable lesson to be teaching future generations, and that's the only way we're going to, win this fight.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for the question. It's a great question, and it is really, we are in the culture war of our time right now. We want to have as much diversity. We want to celebrate the diversity of all of us, but yet the United States is about us all coming together because we all believe in freedom, we believe in rights, we believe in property rights, which is an antithesis to having an autonomous zone where somebody takes your rights away from you, not where you buy your personal property or your land, and you get to own it and be free and exercise your freedom. So but again, Nicole alluded to this. Our schools are teaching a false history of America. They aren't teaching we're trying to view, for example, Christopher Columbus and everyone through the lens of a 21st century culture. And there are a lot of things that may look imperfect to us today, but they're important for understanding our history. And, as Churchill said, if you don't learn your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And so there are things that we can learn from, but canceling and erasing it is not the answer. We are back on the Christopher Columbus parade here. There's a big petition in the city of Utica to take down the Christopher Columbus statue. And it's all about it's about the Native Americans and, and making claims that aren't necessarily true. Native Americans were discriminated throughout our history, just like so many other groups were, whether they're Hispanic, Italian, Irish. Everybody has come to this country and felt and faced a lot of discrimination, but we fought through it and unified, and we have to do that again. And I spent 16 years of my life as a lawyer working pro bono for free. It actually cost me money, helping and preserving the rights, culture, and traditions of a 100% Oneida Indian who's here in my community trying to keep his land. And I've been doing that for a long time, and they were discriminated against, but we're trying to do those things. And I think it'd be great if Chairman Langworthy, if you could do a forum, if we across the nation, or across the state, do forums like Nicole suggests, have these people who come out, who come from communist countries, socialist countries where they faced oppression and tyranny, and why they're coming here. And they would be tremendous. I think it's a great idea, and I commend my colleague Nicole and friend. If we try to do them.
I'll volunteer my mother to participate.
love to have her.
No, it's really important though, and I think that we have to be passionate warriors. That we have so much in common with these people. We came to this country to fight tyranny, to escape tyranny. We have that same patriotism and love that they have, and that's why you'd be surprised how many people that are of minority status are sort of moving towards President Trump because of the freedom issue and the recognition that the American flag represents freedom.
I will say that one of the as people know, I come from Buffalo, and traveling around and campaigning to be state chairman, getting to meet so many people in different walks of life, especially spending time in New York City and in the New York City metro, in talking to those immigrants that were so appalled by what they've seen from the left in the Democratic Party. The AOC movement towards socialism. And I talked to restaurant owners and small business people that said, I fled a country to get away from this, to come to the greatest, most free place in the world, the beacon of hope for the world. And now they want to take those lousy policies that hold people down, that oppress them, and bring them here. And, what scares me about this pandemic is you gave everyone a little taste of socialism. Now, there's things that had to be done, extraordinary emergency circumstances, keeping the economy sound. But, you're going to see as, the drastic federal top-up in unemployment benefits come to a close in July, you're going to see lefties call for that to be extended. When you talk to small business people, they say it's the single greatest impediment to getting back to work is the fact that people are making so much money on unemployment to sit home and do nothing. And they won't come back to work until that is over and they get every last dollar that they can from the government. These are the things that, make no mistake, the left is excited that people like the taste of public monies. But you run out of it. We've run up a lot of debt in this process, fighting this pandemic. And we have to fight socialism. And, ladies and gentlemen, socialism, make no mistake, is on the ballot in 2020. And that's why we must mobilize every last Republican vote and like-minded Democrat independent vote that we can to stop that in its spread. Our next question comes from Denise. Welcome, Denise.
Hi. Thank you, Nicole and Claudia. It's great to have you here. I wanted to, I have my video. Here you are. Sorry. I wanted to, I'm so back. I wanted to ask you a question. I'm in Westchester County. I live in New Rochelle, which is kind of like the hotbed of crazy people. Just like incredibly liberal. We just finished our school board election, which was kind of a test of vote harvesting. It's a real hotbed of indivisible work. And that's really my concern really is about indivisibles. They are really a hornet's nest. And I think they're a real problem for us in New York State. I think they're a real problem nationally as well. But what can we do? What can we do? And I think what you said about bringing in immigrants and young people is very important. How can we draw these people in? There's all kinds of discussions going on social media, for example, with regard to Black Lives Matter and racism and so on. And one of the things I've noticed is I find that immigrants are very offended by being accused of being racist, because they're saying, wait a minute, I'm struggling too. Why are you accusing me of being a racist? I wasn't even here. Like, what are you talking about? How can we bring these people into the conversation? How can we bring them into our party and incorporate them and have them join in and be your supporters, be the supporters of our party?
Well, there was an article in the Post about 2 weekends ago. It talked about how Latinos are moving toward Trump. And I was quoted in that, as was Mike Garcia, the new congressman from California, is also Hispanic. And we were mentioned as people who are, Republicans, Hispanic, half Hispanic, and we were talking about how his popularity is growing for the very, very things that I just mentioned. Because people feel that they fled these countries to escape those policies that are being introduced here. So I think we need to do a better job of running a bench of candidates that reflect the nation. I think that's one way that we can certainly grow our party, because it's a messenger in many ways. It's not only our message, it's who is providing that message. I taught a class in college, Wagner College, about 2 semesters ago, and it was on campaign management. And there was a young girl in this class who, I think she was Jamaican, she said. She was Jamaican, a young woman, and she, after the class was over, she had come to me at the end and say, I never thought I could be a Republican until I took your class. She's like, I took your class and I realized that you're like me. You're young, you're a minority woman, and you're a Republican. And I feel like now maybe I could be a Republican too. Maybe it's where I can belong as well. So I think that is a really big thing. People want to see that we have diversity, and I think the chairman has been doing a good job of trying to reach out to various ethnic groups, as did his predecessor. And I think that, with electing people like Mike Garcia, like Marco Rubio, like myself, we will diversify the party a bit so we can have different people to be those messengers. I think that that's just one real way that we can make people feel more comfortable with the party. And then the other thing is just, as I said, pointing out the flaws of the Democratic Party, because most of the immigrants I know, they've come to this country, they've worked hard, they want to achieve the American dream. That's the American dream I want to preserve for future generations, the one that my parents came to this country to achieve and did. I think that is that message of preserving the American dream for future generations, instead of moving down a path of socialism, is a very important one that the immigrant communities need to hear.
Well, I would also be remiss as you make those points to talk about, the fact that you're both two strong women in the Republican Party running for office. And, we've been partnering with Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who's made it her mission. She stepped aside from a leadership position with the NRCC to start EPAC to find more qualified, strong women to run for Congress, because it was a drastic problem for our party in the 2018 election. So I appreciate people stepping up, and we are partnering with her to take those same efforts and bring them right down the ticket to the Assembly, to the Senate, to local offices. We need to run more women for public office. We need to make our party the product that our party puts on the field. The candidates that are available, to run with it. It's not just, here's a white guy, and we have an ethnic group supporting the white guy. It is, we have to run a diverse slate of candidates. We ran a diverse slate of candidates statewide in 2018. We're increasingly doing that around the state, and I salute you both as strong women leaders in the Republican Party for stepping up. We need this to be contagious, and I'm working to do that with a lot of other great.
And if I could also add that, I have to say that leader Kevin McCarthy has been doing a great job doing it as well. And he really has done a lot of outreach to not only get women, but just candidates that reflect their districts, just candidates that reflect the districts that they're running in. We have a few, Asian, Hispanics. It's a really, really, you have African American candidates running this cycle. We have a really, really great, I think, slate of young, energetic, different than we usually would expect. And that's just, I think, will make the difference. As I said, the message is important, but of course you want the most qualified person. And as Republicans, we believe that you want to have the best and most qualified candidate, but that person should also be reflective of the district when possible. That goes a long way.
Claudia, you get the last word on it.
Okay. Well, I actually think you're both right, and I think one thing that we haven't done in the past is that we should be doing as Republicans is not be afraid to go into these communities and tell our story. And the number one thing I hear from them is that nobody comes in and asks me why I should vote for them or why, what you actually stand for. And I know with me, before I really got even into politics, we had a huge refugee community in Utica. We're really known for it. We've been recognized for it around the world, actually. And I used to live in Yugoslavia, and when the Bosnian refugees started coming in after the tragic war in Yugoslavia, I went down and got involved in the refugee center. And I actually, because we owned a newspaper at the time, I worked for the Bosnian refugees, and I created the first Bosnian newspaper in Bosnian. And then we got involved with the refugee center with all the different minorities and ethnic groups coming in. And I did the first Black and Latino newspaper as well, and published and edited. And we did that while I was in the newspaper. And people, so I do have a decent base coming in there, and there are Republicans, but we have to go out there and explain to them that this is out there and that we have to try. And it's interesting because as the Democrats continue to overplay their hand, as I said before, it gives us a unique ability to come in and show some common sense, because these people have many of our values. They want to raise their families. They want economic empowerment. They want all the same things that we want as Americans. And we need to just show them why we need to unify. But I think that, again, to Elise and to Chairman Langworthy, they are working hard to really bring us around. I think that's what scares the Democrats most, is that we are appealing now to all kinds of women and minorities and others, and they're afraid. Their base is eroding and that's why you see this huge overreaction, because people are like, really, we can't respectfully disagree with anybody anymore. The cancel culture. So I think that nobody wants to live in this turmoil that they're creating, and they want to have an opportunity to grow. So I think everything that we're trying to do is good, and I think New York can be a real example. Starting with Nick Langworthy and Elise Stefanik, and imagine if we can get 2 more women elected in New York. We'd have 3 women Republicans, and even Shel Farley, and some others. We could have 4 or 5 women Republicans representing New York. That would be amazing.
In the targeted seats in the state, we actually have more women than men candidates. I'm very proud of that, and we're going to continue to make that a priority. And I want to thank you both for being here. The hour has gone by very quick. We're actually in overtime right now. But I know you're both very busy. You got a primary. If you live in their districts, get out and vote for them on Tuesday. They have Republican primaries, but they are 2 of the highest profile candidates in the United States of America to help us take back a Republican majority. And hopefully you've enjoyed our forum here today, and it's given you a glimpse as to what we're working on as a party to strengthen, to grow. Because if the party's not growing, it's dying. And we have to continually invest in the infrastructure and recruit more people to get involved. And that's what these calls are all about, to try to get you involved from your homes and get you involved in your communities. So if you like what you heard today, support these 2 great candidates. Also support the New York Republican Party. NYGOP.org. If you can afford to make a contribution, we certainly could use it. Without in-person fundraising, it's been very challenging to get people to do what they traditionally would do. So we need your help. We would certainly appreciate it, and I can assure you that everything you give goes to very great causes. And we'll be working with these great candidates right up until Election Day in November to make sure they get over the finish line and we deliver big victories. So thank you all. We'll be back at this next Thursday at lunchtime, and I look forward to it. Thank you both, Claudia and Nicole, for being with us.
Thank you.